Thank you for staying with us here on Politics Today on Channels Television. The issue of the national conference is what has taken our attention tonight, and we have been looking at the controversy over Order 6, Rule 4, the standing order of the national that guides the national conference, which has made the principal officer to adjourn sitting. And when this issue came, the delegates were divided along regional lines, and some are clamoring for 2/3 simple majority, and other people are saying 75% should be the voting pattern, 3/4. Well, I have joining me again from our Abuja studio, Chief Mike Ozekhome, senior advocate of Nigeria, and also a delegate to the national conference. Thank you for joining us, Chief Ozekhome, at this time. It's a pleasure having you talk to us. But let's start with the issue that you brought up at the floor there at the national conference. You were critical about the issue of a simple majority. Why would you want the issue of the 3/4 to be struck out from that particular order or amended to simple majority?
Yeah, let me, before answering that question, please let me deal with one or two issues raised by the former speaker, Professor Ishaq Oloyede. With all respect, the professor, from all he said, is one of those who came to this conference with fixation, with prejudices, with biases, and with stereotypes, who just believe that the conference itself, to use his word, is skewed against certain sections or certain religions. So he's already introducing the dangerous element of religion into this conference. And that is very, very unfortunate. And from the way the professor has spoken, it is clear to all Nigerians that he does not believe in the conference or its outcome. The question is, what are you doing there? If you don't like the kitchen, if you don't like the heat, then get out of the kitchen. If you don't want to be wet, then don't jump into the river. He has spoken like someone who has little or no confidence in that conference at all. Although in his final remarks, he tried to say, oh, let's just discuss Nigeria. But he's not discussing like a Nigerian. I thought that this conference, we came here as Nigerians to retool Nigeria, to re-engineer Nigeria, to refabricate the fabric with which the country is made up of, that has made us to be a very sick country over the years, that once led the great Sardauna of Sokoto Ahmadu Bello to describe Nigeria.
Mr. Ozekhome, Professor Oloyede was actually not happy. If I could come in here, Mr. Ozekhome, Professor Oloyede was actually not happy with the constitution of delegates. That was what he was actually. Now, I don't think he actually said that he doesn't believe in the national conference. He said he's not happy with the constitution of the delegates. That's what he said.
My summation,
my summation his opinion,
of what he has said, that is my own submission. That is my own submission, and all reasonable Nigerians who listen to him. Now, the issue of 2/3 or 3/4. Mr. President, let me correct one impression. In his inaugural address, 28 pages, he never talked about voting pattern or what percentage of people should vote. It was when the Secretary to the Government of the Federation was rolling out guidelines and the people who were going to be represented that he said, as much as possible, the conference should come to agree on issues by way of consensus. Where they cannot, let them go by way of 3/4. The President, in his 28-page inaugural address, never discussed the issue of consensus or 3/4. What he harped on in more than 12 places of the speech was the unity of Nigeria, unity in diversity, the need for us not to balkanize Nigeria, but to cement the unity we already have, to aggregate the Dolly Parton's coat of many colors that we already have, to ensure that our religious differences, our cultural diversities, and our linguistic plurality are aggregated and cemented to have a strong nation. That was what Mr. President advised us on. He never discussed the issue of percentage. My argument then and now was simple. If you say 3/4 of people must pass a resolution, 3/4 mathematically is 75%. You are telling every student in a class that he must score an A. And I said this was not going to be possible. Of the 492 delegates that we have at the conference, to talk about 3/4 or 75%, you are asking for 369 to vote for an issue. And I said, this number, this fraction is humongous, is behemoth, and is elephantine and unachievable. I said, look, let us look at it. We are going to discuss some highly emotive and controversial and even inflammable issues, which you rightly put on your screen in your introduction to this talk. And these are issues concerning fiscal federalism, resource control, as we had it in Nigeria up to 15th of June 1966, when Major Kaduna Uzogu Chukwuma played out the first military coup. I said we are going to have emotive issues like state police, the states controlling their own police. We are going to have issues like indigenship and citizenship, the settler syndrome. Why would I live in a state for 40 years and I can still not contest for the governorship of that state because I am regarded as not being an indigen? I said we are going to look at critical issues like devolution of power, and the issue of regionalism, whether we should go back in history to the 6 regions and maybe add a Midwest region, add another region, maybe a Middle Belt region, to have maybe 8 regions. And then so that the present expensive 36 structure in Abuja may be scrapped. I said these are issues that are highly emotive. I also talked about devolution of powers from the very attractive federal government that controls 52% resources, while states control 22%, and all the 774 local government areas control only 20%. I said such issues are very critical. Do we need to still go on with a presidential system of government, which has been shown to be too expensive?
All right.
Or do we go back to the
Mr. Ozekhome, just that I may come in here. Just that I may come in here. Let me quickly ask you, because of our time, so that we can treat as much issues before our time runs out. You were talking about the simple majority. But the fact remains that,
give me that number of minutes.
There is a setting up of about 50 member delegates for a committee to look into this. Have they agreed? Have they come to a consensus on the voting pattern?
Yes. Now, before you cut me short, I was trying to conclude my submission. My submission on that issue is that if you talk about 75% or 3/4, you are going to have a situation where you will have a tyrannical minority. In the event that 74% have already voted for an issue, 1% less 75%, that issue has been shut down. It means that a laughing tyrannical minority of 26% has carried the day against a helpless majority of 74%. So I said, across the world, the best parliamentary practice is usually simple majority, at times when the issues are not very tight, one-third majority. Therefore, very critical issues, for example, in Nigeria, including the impeachment of Mr. President, including the impeachment of a governor, that is when you begin to talk about 2/3 majority. 3/4 majority, that is highly unparliamentary, is unusual. You are not going to get it. Like Nostradamus, the man who saw tomorrow, I can predict that you can never, ever get 75%. That was why 50 people were selected by Mr. Chairman to go into a conclave to discuss with him. For 2 days, they paneled it out. And what the newspapers are saying in the last 2 days is that 70% have been arrived at. That is in the spirit of Nigerianity, of one Nigeria, in the spirit of give and take, in the spirit of harmonizing views, making compromises here and there. I do not agree with the Prof that some people are at the conference to force their views on other people. I do not agree. Even if you say a simple majority is required to carry an issue, you must still do horse trading and make compromises. You are not going to get 1/3 majority just like that. It doesn't come from the blues.
So, Mr. Ozekhome,
lobby other people as Nigerians, and agree on certain things so that nobody feels cheated.
All right, Mr. Ozekhome, so do you believe that if the 70% consensus has been reached, do you think that's a way forward? And do you think that is fair enough? And you're saying that 75% we may never get a headway. Do you think with 70% we will get a headway?
Well, what I want to say is that in discussing, you cannot have your way. Nobody is going to have his way 100% at this conference. We are going to do compromises. If some people like Ishaq Oloyede wanted 75%, and Mike Ozekhome, myself, wanted a 66%, and we have now agreed on 70%, which will be tabled tomorrow. We have all read it in the press. Now, that means in my own argument, I would have lost 3.3%. And in their own argument, they would have lost 5%. But the winner that has won on all sides is Nigeria, the interest of Nigeria, the interest of that national conference, which we need as urgent as yesterday to discuss and solve these primordial issues, these pristine issues that make people view every issue from a religious binoculars, from an ethnic perspective, from a linguistic perspective. We do not need to. Nigerians need to live together as one people, a very big country, beautiful country, with a mineral and natural and human resources, 170.5 million people, the 7th most populated country in the world.
All right.